climbing club, but they didn't have space because they said, okay, we have already our clients, and no, we're full. And then Edward Whymper did persuade them to do it the next day as the first people on the Matterhorn in a group of 7, because he said, look, we're not clients, we are actually considered as mountain guides, because they were so fit, and they said, no, we can be a group of 7 because we are not so bad, we are actually quite good. So they persuaded, and the next day they climbed along the Hurndley Ridge, and they made it all the way to the top. They summited it, and they just saw about 40 meters below on the Italian side, Carrel with his group. They just made it before them, and of course the Italians were really angry. They turned around and they went down again, and then it was their victory. Of course, the 7 people from the Swiss side, they were the first on the Matterhorn, and on the way down they had to use a reserve rope, because on the way up, Whymper, just before getting to the summit, it was too slow for him. The whole group was too slow. He wanted to get off from the rope, but he couldn't, so he just cut with the knife, he cut the rope, and he went off. So he was on the summit the first, but the rest was just there shortly later. And so on the way down, they couldn't use that rope anymore. They had to use a reserve rope, and that was not so strong. But they all were again on 7 on that one rope, they fixed it together. And then on the way down, the second person tripped and fell onto the first person, and then they all fell, and the third last person could just put the rope around a rock to secure them, and the rope ripped there because it was the reserve rope at that point, and he had burnt hands and burnt around his whole body from the rope, from the tension. And so 4 people fell down the north face of the Matterhorn. That's the right side of the Matterhorn where you can see the glacier. They fell down onto that glacier, and 3 survived. 3 were on the ridge, and they spent the night on the ridge because it was so traumatic. They were just shocked, of course. And then the next day they came down, and from the village they even saw that there was something like an avalanche going down the north face, and they were already suspecting that nothing good happened. Next day they came down, and of course they were really shocked, and they said, there are the 4, they fell down. And one person has never been found on the north face, on the bottom, because probably he fell into a crevasse. And anyway, then of course Edward Whymper was one of the survivors, and the 2 local mountain guides, Taugwalder and his son. And the local mountain guides, they were not very well with communicating, and they couldn't talk themselves out of it. So Edward Whymper, he was an illustrator. He actually made the mountain guides, look very bad. Actually, for a long time they thought that was their fault, and he put a rumor into the world that maybe the mountain guide had cut the rope through. And of course that every mountain guide now that goes to the mountain or knows the mountains says it's not possible to take a knife out when somebody's hanging in your rope and to cut it through it. There is no time. It's something that happens so fast, and he had both hands completely burnt, and it was absolutely nonsense. But of course that was for a long time that was actually what they were thinking. And anyway, now after many years, and of course the local mountain guides, they were traumatized. They were not guiding anymore, and they had quite a lot of problems after that. Oh yeah, they're starting
a lot
there.
of parasailers over there.
Staying still.
But later now they'd made a play, and they published actually the true story of the ascent and of the whole tragedy. And that is now a play that is played at the Riffelberg on a stage. We will just pass it after when we get to the station. And it's actually the truth about the whole thing, and they actually recovered the whole story, the whole truth of it. And yeah, and actually Edward Whymper was always known as a very popular man, but no, it was actually a very dominant, a very egoistic person, persuading as well a group to take a group of 7 up to the mountain was a very, very bad decision, because
and then leaving them.
Yeah.
What year was that?
Yeah, exactly.
What year was that?
That was 1865. That was actually 160 years ago. Yeah.